What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Mets PostGame Show right here on the channel and on X. And damn it, Met fans, as the New York Mets decide to not sweep a series that they should have won. Let's be honest about that. They should have won, Mets fans. Unfortunately, they came up small against the Atlanta Braves, losing 4-3 to the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta, avoiding the sweep the Atlanta Braves did, and the Mets are just, man, it's frustrating. It started in the 8th inning. They're showing it right now. Brett Beatty missing that ball. The ball bopped off his glove. He just didn't get up high enough, and it just a trickle-down effect from there. Yeah, and look, I understand people are talking about, who to bring in the spot with David Peterson. David Peterson's your best pitcher. You are not taking him out of the game. I'm sorry. You're just not. You are just not. There's nobody you can trust in the bullpen right now. And you got to remember, you don't trust Stanek, you don't trust Garrett, and you don't trust Helsley. So that's 3 pitchers that could be used in this game, but you're not going to use them. So you got to save Raley. You got to save Soto for the high leverage situations you're going to get into in the end of the game. Like you have to deal with that. And you're up 2-0. You're not going to go to your best guys at that point, because then you're going to have Stanek, Helsley, and Garrett for the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And there is no way in hell you are going to put those guys in that spot. You can't do that. Yeah, Dolo, I understand Mullins should have dove for that, but that ball was hit off the end of the bat. Maybe Tyrone Taylor would have got it, but again, we're questioning something there where, the situation that me and Chris talked about in the pregame, what happened, right? Why not Soto get more of a high leverage situation later in the game? And he did. Like, he walked the guy, he hit a guy. That is not what you want to do. But this is the thing that we talk about when Mendoza has nobody to go to in the bullpen, right? Gregory Soto has been one of your better relievers, hasn't given up an earned run until today. And he's been overused. He threw yesterday, and you put him in a big spot today. There's nothing else he can do. And people keep on talking about, well, again, Mullins could have catched that. He could have dove. He could have. Again, I agree with you. But again, it was hit off the end of the bat. He wasn't playing that shallow. He was maybe a step or two before getting that, but I agree. I think that he should have made a dive for it. Now, again, he made a dive the last time, he missed it, right? So, I don't know. And the game is not on Mullins. I'm sorry. It's not on Mullins. The game is on the Mets going 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, right? They didn't do nothing today offensively, right? They scored 3 runs, and they scored one of them in the 9th. You had your best guys coming up. Alonso popping up, and you had McNeil pop up. I'm sorry. They had opportunities. Well, Ali, he slowed down he slowed down. You know why he slowed down? Because he didn't think he can get to it. So he tried to hold up so the ball wouldn't get past him. That's what he tried to do. You played outfield before, you understand that. He was holding up because he didn't think he can get to it. And again, I'd rather have a guy hold up than dive and completely miss the ball. But again, this isn't a situation, and he was actually, they just showed it. He was playing kind of deep. But again, maybe Tyrone Taylor catches it and maybe not. But about Ali, he didn't slow down for no reason. He didn't. Again, he slowed down because he didn't think he can get to it. Again, should he have got to it? Should he have dove? I would say yes, right? You want a guy to go all out, but we all know what would happen. If he would have done the same thing in the other time when he dove and missed it, everybody would have gone on him. Maybe it would have been a situation of saying, I agree with you. He should have dove. I agree with you. He should have dove. Whatever reason, he didn't do so. Whatever reason. But he dove the last time, and everybody killed him for it because he dropped it. So it's kill me if you do and kill me if you don't. So again, here's the problem. You had a 2-0 lead and you couldn't hold it. There's problem number 1. Again, I don't care what anybody says. You're not taking David Peterson out of that spot. Again, didn't we just talk about on the pregame how Mendoza challenged Clay Holmes and he challenged McLean in back-to-back games. There's nothing you can do there. You're going to say, oh, take out Peterson. For who? For Raley? Like, it's always after the fact. There is not one person saying take him out. Not one. No, Dolo. No. See, that's wrong. We know why Stearns got Mullins. It's not because of his better defense. It's because they needed a center fielder that had a little bit more offense. That's it. That had nothing to do with defense. If that was the case, you didn't need a center fielder. You had Tyrone Taylor. But nobody wanted Tyrone Taylor. Nobody wanted Tyrone Taylor playing every day. So you're stuck with Mullins. That's why I said it was a waste to go get Mullins on the cheap route when you could have just kept Tyrone Taylor defensively, because at the end of the day, if the guys at the top don't do their job, we're not talking about Tyrone Taylor's offense. That is the problem. That is the problem. Again, everybody's so focused on the offense and worried about a number 7 or 8 hitter or 9 hitter in the lineup, which you guys are wasting your time. We didn't lose this game because the 7 through 9 hitters didn't hit. We lost this game because the 1 through 6 hitters didn't hit. That's it. It's just that simple. Like, why are we trying to make it more than it is? People were calling for a center fielder other than Tyrone Taylor. You got your wish. Lay in your bed. I'm sorry. That's it. You wanted more offense. You're getting slightly more offense from Mullins than you are Tyrone Taylor. That is what you're dealing with. You would have had Tyrone Taylor playing every day in center field if you didn't get Cedric Mullins. This wouldn't have been a topic of conversation. That's it. So you can't have it both ways, right? People are bitching that Mullins should have went all out or he's not a better center fielder. Well, you wanted the offense, so you had to slack a little bit in the defense to get a little bit more offense from the center field position. You got it. You got it. And Kev, I don't want to hear about Jet Williams. I don't want to hear about none of the position prospects in the minor leagues. I don't give a shit about them. All right. Jet Williams is not coming up here. Deal with it, folks. You're lucky you're getting the top prospect pitchers. And that is out of desperation, not because David Stearns wanted it. All right. You are not getting Jet Williams here. Stop talking about Jet Williams. Right? I don't want to hear about none of these guys. It does not matter. We don't have no idea. Just because they play well in the minors does not mean, have we not learned our lesson with our position players? Right? It took Mark Vientos 130 games to start looking like a baseball player. Brett Brady, it took 2 years to look like a baseball player. Acuna's in the minors. Ronnie Mauricio is not good right now. Stop thinking these position player prospects are going to come up here and change something. We don't know that. And it pretty likely the way the Mets prospects position players have come up here, they have not been ready. I don't care how much seasoning they got in the minors. They come up here and they can't hit breaking balls. Their defense is lacking, and it's the same process. Ronnie Mauricio was a vacuum in the minor leagues. He's not looked like a vacuum in the infield. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, Dole, I agree with you. They should have dove. He should have dove. But again, this is the problem that I continue to talk about. Like, people don't care about defense until it actually matters, right? Everybody bitched and moaned. Hey, you need a bat. You need a bat. You need a bat in center field. Somebody that can hit so we don't have to see Tyrone Taylor. There was people saying Tyrone Taylor should be off the team. Do we all forget that? Now everybody wants him playing every day and playing in center field. Like, come on, guys. It doesn't work both ways. You knew going into this that Cedric Mullins is not a better center fielder than Tyrone Taylor. We know that it's a little bit less. Tyrone Taylor is a solid center fielder. Not great, solid. His first step isn't great. But you wanted a bat. That's it. It doesn't matter if you wanted Mullins or not. David Stearns appeased the fans. Again, this is what I talk about with his stupid propaganda. Right? He got Cedric Mullins because he was cheaper. It's a better, quote unquote, bat than Tyrone Taylor. But you're sacrificing a little bit of defense. This is what you get. You're not going to get both. A lot of the times, again, this is why I said they should have went a different route when it comes to the bat. If you wanted to get a center fielder, get somebody who is on par with Tyrone Taylor defensively. That was Luis Robert. and probably a better bat than Mullins. Like, this is the problem. But Mashin, it is an upgrade when Tyrone Taylor was batting 200, 205, 210. It's not an upgrade, but you look at the home runs, you look at the stolen bases, you look at a lot of things with Cedric Mullins. So again, it's not a major upgrade. And I said this for a while. Cedric Mullins is not a difference maker. He's not. But to say that Mullins, like everybody's getting on Mullins, why are you getting on Mullins for? Because he didn't dive? Yeah, I agree with you. But you're getting what you're getting. You wanted better offense from center field. You had to get a little bit of a lesser defender to get that. And now I think Luis Robert is definitely a top-notch center fielder defensively. He might have made that play. Tyrone Taylor might have made that play. I mean, we just assume they're going to make that play, but again, we don't know. This is a what-if thing again. But Kev, you are playing Taylor every day. Let's not act like people didn't want this guy on the bench or even off this team. Nobody wanted Tyrone Taylor playing. Who are you going to get if it wasn't Luis Robert for center field? Some might have said Harrison Bader. Okay, that would have been okay. But a lot of people didn't want Bader either. So you're between a rock and a hard place here. Tyrone Taylor was your center fielder. If you liked it or not, he was. But all we complained about was the offense. And let's not act like we weren't. I was the one talking about pitching. Everybody else was talking about the offense. It was all about the offense, all about Tyrone Taylor's offense. Nobody cared about the defense. Again, only time people care about the defense is when things like this happen. That's it. It's just that simple. And yeah, Alonso's at bat was not good, and he's kind of been going through it lately, even though he had a home run yesterday. But again, they had the opportunities. They could have came back in this game. The low scoring, the close games are killing this team. The close games are killing this team. Yeah, Committee, I was talking about starting pitching too. You know, I was very few that was talking about starting pitching or talking about, you know, the pitching in general. More people focused on the offense, and you're worrying about a guy, and this is the problem that I continue to talk about. You were worrying about Tyrone Taylor's offense, who was batting 7th, 8th, or 9th in this lineup. Again, that's on you guys. You wanted to focus on that, and now you got Cedric Mullins. You asked for something better. You're getting a better offensive player, even though it's not much better. It is more power, and that's basically what you're getting. You get a little bit more power and a little bit better average. That's it. Like, that's it. Yeah, Dolo, see, I know Sproat didn't look good in his 3 2/3 in his first out and out of the bullpen. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you with that, right? The Mets made that decision, and they're gonna have to live. They have to lay in their bed on that one. That's for sure. But we got to remember, guys. You wanted Tyrone Taylor not playing because that's what you wanted. This is all we were talking about. You want to go back to the shows? Go back to the trade deadline shows. Go back to the weeks before the deadline. All everybody was talking about was Tyrone Taylor shouldn't be in this lineup. He shouldn't be playing center field. He shouldn't be starting. And yet now everybody wants to see Tyrone Taylor at every moment now. All of a sudden, he's God. All of a sudden. Now, what should have happened, and they talked about this on the broadcast, why isn't Cedric Mullins playing left field while Tyrone Taylor is in the game and he should be playing center field? Now, apparently, Mullins doesn't like to play at left field for, again, whatever reason, but you got to put your better center fielder out there, and that's Tyrone Taylor. That can be on Mendoza, but you're also not going to tell Mullins to play a position that he's not comfortable in, because what if he makes a mistake in left field? What if he drops a ball or doesn't make a good route to a ball in left field? And then what are you going to say then? Mendoza should have never put Mullins in left field? My holy, I agree with you. It's a slight upgrade. I've said that it's a slight upgrade. Now, I think it's more of a slight upgrade than Tyrone Taylor offensively, but it's not a tremendous difference. But David Stearns gave you what you wanted, a new center fielder, because that's all everybody was bitching about. Everybody was bitching exactly that. And that sixth inning that didn't turn that double play, man, that was the start of things to go, unfortunately. Dola, I agree with you, but you know what? This goes back to Brendan Nimmo getting hurt. This goes back to, getting a center fielder at the trade deadline. And again, you got Cedric Mullins to play center field. That was going to cause you to play Tyrone Taylor, either put him on the bench or not play him at all. And he was playing left field. So again, do we know that Tyrone Taylor would have made that catch? I think he would have dove for it. If you want to do that, yeah. So, and Dola, I agree with you, but we all know what would have happened. If Mullins would have got put in left field and a ball would have went there where he misplayed a ball, he didn't read the ball well, and the ball drops in, everybody would be like, why are you playing him in left field? That would be the first thing. Now, what should have happened, and we can go back to Mendoza doing this. Why don't you put Marte in left field and put Tyrone Taylor in center field, take Mullins out of the game? You could have done that too, right? But in the ninth inning, Cedric Mullins got on base to get everything started and to start almost starting a rally and coming back. So again, Cedric Mullins, again, everybody's calling Cedric Mullins, but he was the big reason why this team won in this series. He had a really good series against the Braves. So again, everybody wanted the offense. You got it from Cedric Mullins in this series. But now we're going to complain about the defense. You see how recency bias start to trickle in a little bit when everybody did not want Tyrone Taylor to even sniff the lineup. And now you're getting exactly what you wanted. But now you're complaining. So don't have it both ways. Don't have it both ways. And Cedric Mullins is not going to be used as a pinch runner. Okay, he's better than that. But this is, everybody's killing Cedric Mullins, but yet he had a very solid offensive series. This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. So why are you complaining? You see this is what I don't understand. Easy, exactly. We were all talking about this for months, that Tyrone Taylor offensively is terrible. That's all we were talking about. Nobody gave a shit about the defense. Nobody cared. He was making catches all over the place. But people still wanted him out of the lineup. Now you got it. And Cedric Mullins had a really good offensive series. So you got what you wanted. Again, until it actually affects you on the field, now you're going to complain about it. You guys did not want Tyrone Taylor in this lineup. Even as of a week ago, you did not want Tyrone Taylor in this lineup. And Cedric Mullins had a good offensive day. Yeah, he didn't dive for the ball. Again, what he would have caught it, I don't know. But you know what would happen? He would have dove for the ball, missed it. It would have went behind him, and 3 more runs would have scored. So, again, we act like Tyrone Taylor wasn't talked about amongst Mets fans, that they didn't want him in a lineup. You got what you wanted. Again, don't complain with what you wanted. Everybody wanted an upgrade offensively. Nobody talked about, it's not. I don't mind getting more offense, but I don't want to hurt our defense. That wasn't a conversation. Nobody talked about that. Everybody was so fixated on the number 7, 8, and 9 hitter, which Cedric Mullins was going to be, and where Tyrone Taylor was batting most of the time, where you concern yourself with the bottom way down in the order than with the top guys. The top guys didn't come through today. They didn't, except for Vientos. They had opportunities in the ninth. They didn't come through. Yeah, Dolo, it's different when it's important like this, but 162 games, every game's important. All right, I don't want to say, April doesn't matter. Because if April didn't matter, the Mets would be 10 games under 500 if April didn't matter. So that's the difference. Yeah, it's important games now. Absolutely. But every game's important. Don't we know that? Isn't June important? June is the big reason why we're in this mess. Easy. You know what? At the end of the day, I think everybody will be. Yet nobody's talking about how good Mullins was offensively in this series? Nobody. And the film Cubano, absolutely. There's your problem. When you get 3 hits off for Elder and you only add 3 more hits and most of them were in the 9th inning after that, it's going to be hard to say that, that one play could have made a tremendous difference. Right? You had a 2-0 lead. Your pitchers didn't hold it. Right? I love how everybody always all of a sudden wants the bullpen in this game when you got your best pitcher on the mound. Right? Mendoza has to push these guys at some point, guys. Like, this is the first time they're going through regular rest. You got to push these guys. If they can't do it now, you expect them to do it in the playoffs? Like, come on. Like, we got to understand that. That's got to be understood as well. Yeah, and that was actually a good at bat. Like, you saw Soto was in the earlier part of that at bat. He was trying to go deep. He was. But again, when you find yourself in a hole, you gotta just get on base. And he got that RBI in. And listen, he gave it to Pete Alonso, right? They've been walking Soto this whole series. Like, they're not pitching to Soto. And again, this has been a problem, it seems like, all year, where people are still not pitching Soto enough. They're still pitching around him to get to Pete Alonso. And Pete Alonso has burned him a good amount of time this year. But as of recently, Pete Alonso has not come through when they've been pitching around Soto to get to Alonso. So, well, Brad, again, didn't I talk about this in pregame? And I talked about it yesterday as well in the pre and post. This is the first time these pitchers are going to go on regular days rest. This is a test for this team, for these pitchers. You got to test them, because you're never going to test them. Then what do you think you're going to do when you get to the playoffs? All of a sudden, you're going to throw them in the 6th inning? If they get into a little bit of trouble? I mean, he had 90 pitches. Like, it's not like he had 105 pitches to take Peterson out of the game. He's right where he has been in his pitch count. He could have finished it. He didn't do his job. Like, you're allowed to blame Peterson for not coming through. Just because he's been so good doesn't mean you can't criticize him. And they're showing Brandon Sproat getting rocked coming out of the bullpen, gave up a 3-run homer. And that didn't work out so well. But what are you going to do? I mean, they should have bring him up and throw him as a starter, but hey, that's just me. But look, guys, the fact that a lot of things happened in this game that wasn't good. Right? They didn't get anything going after the 2nd inning, after Vientos hit the 2-run homer. There was nothing. That was it. You're 1 for 9 runners in scoring position. That wasn't good. And you allowed the Braves to come back in this game. Like, didn't everybody feel like the game was kind of like, all right, we're playing with fire here. We need some insurance runs here. Even in yesterday's game, they got the insurance runs that they needed. And it kind of took away the little bit of anxiety in that game. Oh, well, Dolo, I think they're going with Tong anyway. That's why they put Sproat in the bullpen. Because, again, they're concerned about his innings. But, again, I don't like doing that. Like, this kid has been pitching really well over his last 6-7 starts. And now you're going to put him in a role that he's not comfortable in, that he hasn't done. I don't like that. Just bring him the hell up. Start him. If you got to piggyback Brandon Sproat and, let Kodai Senga come in after or something like that, do it. Dolo, I don't think it's they're comfortable bringing up Sproat. I think that because Jonah Tong has been so good and they just love what he's doing, I just think that, they think Tong's an easier transition to the majors. Not that Sproat's going to be any good. And this is the whole reason why, the indecisiveness of not trading one of these guys is a problem. Like, you're already playing your hand, right? Teams around the league, and this is going to come up in the offseason because I do have a feeling that, there's not a lot of room in this rotation for a lot of guys. Like, let's be honest about that. You're still going to have McGill. You're still going to have Senga and Manaya and Holmes and then Tong and then and McLean. Like that's a lot of guys already. So it's gonna come up. And this is the other issue too. Like the Mets just played their hand. And you know what? We will talk about this in the offseason, but he played his hand. Right? You're putting Brandon Sproat in the bullpen. Why are you doing that? He's pitched extremely well over his last 6-7 starts. Probably on the verge of coming up. Why put him in the bullpen? Either you don't trust him, or you don't think he's good enough as a starter and you don't feel comfortable bringing him up, or you're basically playing your hand and telling teams, well, we don't believe him. We don't see him as a potential top starter. So are you making him lose a little bit of value here? Well, easy. Yeah, Tong, I think he does have 2 pitches, but it's worked. So until it doesn't work at the big league level, I'm not going to kill the kid. I'm not going to tell the kid to go to the bullpen. They believe in Tong to be a starter. I don't know what they're doing with Sproat. I don't know why they're making that decision. It doesn't make sense. What about Scott? Well, you got to see him come back, right? I know he's had some throwing sessions, but again, who cares about Scott? We're not going to, we're going to talk about Scott at the end of in the offseason because he's probably hopefully going to be ready to go. So that's another guy. So yeah, committee, but I don't see. This is the thing. This is why when you got to make a decision at the deadline, you got to make a decisive decision. This is the problem with having too many guys for the same roles. It doesn't make sense. Somebody's getting left out. Like, do you guys really think Senga's coming out of the rotation? Manaya, Holmes, you're paying these guys. Like, they're not doing that. No, Montage was just bad, and they had replacements. That's why they sent them there. But it's like they're going to give the guys they're paying money to the opportunities prior to these kids. Like, that's just a fact. So, again, this is why when you get to a deadline, you got to make a decision on certain players. If they thought Brandon Sproat wasn't ready to be a starter at the big league level, and now you're throwing him in the bullpen, all you're doing is making him lose value. So what you should have done, you should have made the decision. And you know what? If you think McLean and Tong are the big boys in your rotation going forward, you could have traded Brandon Sproat for Joan Duran. Remember, they only wanted 1 top 6 prospect? You could have done that. And maybe the 8th inning would be different. Maybe it wouldn't have to be Soto. It would have been Duran. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's little things like that where they're so indecisive on these guys that they can't make a decision. They're hoarding all these prospects, guys. They're hoarding all of them. For what? You play 9 guys a game. How many top prospects do you want on this team? You want half of them sitting? Because that's stupid. That makes no sense. Exactly, Dolo. They got cold feet. They don't know what to do. Either they don't know if these guys are going to be good or not. They're too indecisive on who's good and who's not, or who might be better than the other, or they're just not smart enough to realize that they're not good enough baseball people to figure that out. You know, stop putting Stearns on this mantle. He hasn't figured nothing out yet. Has the Mets won a World Series? This is year 2. He hasn't won, right? He didn't win last year. I still believe because of a deadline that he did not do enough. And then this year, I still don't think he did enough. When he had an opportunity, you had the farm system and you had the money. There was no excuse, except you didn't want to trade prospects. And you could say, well, you traded 12 of them. Yeah, nobody cares about them. You see the problem with that? You kept everything that was important to you that you felt like you don't want to give up. So again, you want to go the cheaper route prospect-wise, you're going to get either nothing because you didn't get a starter, and you got Cedric Mullins because you didn't want to give up what they wanted for Luis Robert, and then you didn't want to give up one of your top 6 prospects in Joan Duran. And this is the thing where I don't think they planned on bringing these kids up. Even at the deadline, they didn't think about bringing these kids up. So their plan with Sproat only recently came about. Because if they were so sure about Sproat going to the bullpen. You don't think they would have done that weeks ago when the Mets were trying to figure out their bullpen? This is a plan that just popped up. So that's on them. So wouldn't Sproat would have been better to use as an asset at the trade deadline to get an extremely good bullpen arm in Joan Duran because they only wanted one of the top 6 guys? But Dola, that's what I'm saying. It's an abrupt decision because they just made that decision. Because I tell you right now, Tyler McGill is going to be our 6th starter, not Brandon Sproat. So they already see Tyler McGill being planted in this rotation. And Brandon Sproat's going to the bullpen, good or not. He's coming up. So this is what we're dealing with here. We lose the game to the Phillies, which, again, we should have won this game. I'm sorry. Now, we got a 7-game deficit in the division, and we got a 2-game lead at the moment for the wild card. So, again, we're okay in the wild card. Maybe the Reds lose today and we still remain 2.5. But still, it's very frustrating right now because it just doesn't make sense. The roster construction and the hoarding of these prospects, especially that play similar positions where there's no room for, does not make sense. Like, we could talk all we want about Viento showing something all of a sudden, but nobody was thinking that this was going to pop up. It was through 115 games, and there was nothing that we seen that said he's going to change it around. Acuna's in the minor leagues basically collecting dust. AJU and Santucci, all these guys, like, are these guys going to be a part of the team or not? There's at least teams like the Padres and other teams that are not afraid to trade top prospects, top 10, top 5 prospects. They're making decisions. Regardless if they're wrong or right, they're making a decision. I'd rather have them be decisive in their decision and hitting their fist and saying, this is what I'm going to do. It doesn't seem like the Mets are doing that. It seems like they're sitting back and saying, oof, I don't know. I don't know if we should do this. And then it's obvious that these plans are coming up like the next day. Like, all we were talking about 2 days ago was Brandon Sproat coming up to pitch in the rotation. Now he's in the bullpen. Like, that didn't come up 3 weeks ago. Because if that was the case, it would have made more sense to do that before the deadline and do that. Why are they deciding to do that now? Because they have no idea. They're too indecisive. It's stupid. It's stupid, stupid, stupid. And by the way, guys, there will be a show tonight, 9 p.m., the first of the year, the Mets Night Show on my channel and Chris's channel. Chris is going to join me. I'm going to see if I can get somebody else, a couple other people as well, if they can join to talk about this, because this is going to be a big topic of conversation. We'll talk about today's game. We'll talk about the series. We'll talk about the Philly series coming up. But this is the conversation that's got to be had because it doesn't make sense. Committee, I don't know. But let's not act like the Phillies played great against the Nationals. They pulled out the wins, and that's what matters. But they didn't play well in that series. They didn't. Like, there was a lot of shaky moments there. But they won, so that's all that matters. But I agree with you, Committee. The Mets didn't do their job either. So it's going to be a topic of conversation. Like, tonight's show, the Mets Night Show at 9 p.m. is going to be very interesting because that topic of conversation needs to be had. Because, again, we just found out a few days ago from John Heyman that the Twins wanted one of the Mets' top 6 prospects. Everybody would have left, but this is how you know the Mets are indecisive. 100% indecisive. Because if the Mets would have decided they can have the Twins wanted any of the 6 top prospects, one of them. If the Mets were so hell-bent on putting Sproat, if they were thinking about putting Sproat in the bullpen this whole time during the deadline, wouldn't you think it would have been an easy decision just to do that so you know you get – if you think Brandon Sproat's going to be a good bullpen arm or you're still not sure about him being in the bullpen, being good in the bullpen, you can trade him for Joan Duran. You know he's good. You see the indecisiveness? This is what I talk about. This is why it's not about half-assing the deadline because you don't have prospects. Different story, right? I even was slightly on board about last year because it's his first year. He's evaluating the prospects, but your team is good. You shouldn't be there is no time to waste here. You're heading to 40 years and not winning the World Series. These guys are getting older. Nimmo looks like he's basically done, like he's broken down, and we still got 5 more years in his contract. Lindor's another year older. Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil. I mean, come on. Like, again, last year there was no urgency at all. At all. Right? There was a lot of luck involved that got us to the point we did, and it was the Lindor show that got us there with Jose Iglesias. Other than that, everything else was, let's see what happens approach. And this year, there still isn't a big sense of urgency. It wasn't at the deadline. You got multiple bullpen arms, but we all know about bullpen arms. They're volatile. No matter who you get, there's a pretty good chance that it can just blow up in your face. The bullpen is like that. We see it all the time. But you go back to what you actually needed, and Ryan Helsley at the time was a good move. But you gave up 3 guys for that. You gave up 3 guys for Tyler Rogers. You gave up 3 guys for Gregory Soto. Wouldn't it make more sense to give up 1 top 6 prospect to get a really good bullpen arm that could close for you and be an 8th inning guy in Johan Duran? Like, I just don't understand it. It actually makes no sense. It makes no sense, guys. It's I'm so annoyed right now because the game is one thing. Because, again, the Mets had an opportunity. They were 1 for 9 runners in scoring position. They scored no runs after the second inning, after the Vientos 2-run homer. They did nothing. That goes for the entire lineup, right? Vientos did a good job in the second inning, but also when him and others, all of them, did not do nothing else. They didn't get no insurance runs. It kept the Braves in the game for a potential of what happened later in the game. That's it. There's your game, right? I'm not blaming Gregory Soto. He's been our best reliever since we got him prior to the deadline. Again, this is the problem with what we're dealing with right now. Reed Garrett, Ryan Stanek, and Ryan Helsley, all not pitching well right now. They're not trusted. So you trust Raley, you trust Gregory Soto, and you have Diaz. There ain't much to go to today. So trying to get Peterson through it is not a bad move. That's not on Mendoza. That's on Peterson not doing his job. I like Peterson a lot, but he didn't do his job today. You gotta get through that inning. We talk about it all the time. They gotta push through. You gotta push through adversity, right? Beating the Nationals is cute. Throwing 8 innings against the Nationals are great, right? That's nice, but it is against the Nationals. The Braves are a better hitting team than the Nationals. You got to get through adversity. And look, Peterson has done that a lot of games so far. But somebody just brought up in a comment, these games are important. Well, Peterson needs to step up. So we don't care about April games. All right, so let's not care about it. Peterson's got to get the job done. I'm sorry. It is what it is. He didn't get the job done. So that led to now Raley coming in. And, he did what he had to do. And then Gregory Soto, who was already overused, is coming in a high leverage situation where I want him in. But he already threw a ton already. He pitched yesterday. I think he's pitched 4 out of the last 6 days. Like, it's a lot of baseball. It's a lot of throwing. And this is a guy that nobody was overly excited about, and he's been our best guy. And Gregory Soto can't be perfect in every game, right? He was going to have a blunder. This wasn't really a blunder. That's not true. He did walk a guy. He did hit a guy. Okay. But he's been overused. This is a situation where Mendoza didn't even think to put in Reed Garrett or Stanek or Helsley in the 8th inning. He went, okay, Gregory Soto's my best guy. I'm throwing him out there. He's not going to be perfect. So, this is the issue that we have. Mendoza really doesn't have a lot of guys to trust in that bullpen. Somebody had to throw the 6th inning and the 7th inning, right? And you could use Gregory Soto in that spot, but who are you throwing in the 8th? Diaz threw almost 30 pitches yesterday. He could have thrown 2 innings. today, but he just threw almost 30 pitches yesterday. So, and everybody's like, why'd you throw him yesterday? Because he hasn't pitched in a week. You got to get him going. Because we all know coming in the ninth inning in a save situation when he hasn't thrown in a week is never a good sign. Because you know how wild he'll be. So, well, that rubber arm is going to fall off. Like, I'm not blaming Mendoza to put Rogers in there. Like, the guy pitches every day. And the Reds is already losing. Again, our saving grace, and now we have to worry about help because the Mets didn't take care of business. We need the Diamondbacks to beat the Reds so we can stay 2.5 games up. Now, going into this series against the Phillies, it's kind of like, all right, if you don't take 2 out of 3, division's kind of over, right? If they take 2 out of 3, it's, 8 games or 9 games? It's kind of done. With 27, 28 games to go after, or 29 games to go after that series, it's kind of over. So it would have been nice to keep it at 6, but the Mets didn't do their job, and now they got to rely on help from the Diamondbacks to beat the Reds. This was a frustrating game. Like, you have 3 hits for the majority of the game. You started to get a couple of more, you started to make a comeback in the 9th, and he failed. Pete Alonso didn't do his job, and Jeff McNeil, who has been red hot, just didn't do his job in that spot. You had a chance. You just didn't do your job. Like, Peterson didn't do his job. Yeah, Mahaly, I agree. Peterson only gave up 2 runs, but he also had a 2-0 lead. Again, we talk about this like just because they've been good all year, we're not allowed to criticize these guys when they don't do their job. Peterson didn't do his job. He didn't finish the job. That was his job to finish that 6th inning. Why are we all of a sudden? Why do everybody want Peterson out of the game? Again, this is the opportunity to push these guys. We need these guys to get pushed. It's the Mets' fault for not pushing them in June and July. Now we got to push them in August. That's on the Mets. But you got to push them. These guys are going through very important regular rest starts because that's what they're going to deal with in the postseason. If you get past the wild card round, you're going on normal rest. And even if it takes to the end of the year to make the playoffs, they're probably going on normal rest in the wild card. If they haven't done it all year, and none of these guys have done it all year, you just expect them to just turn over relief and do it in the playoffs? You got to do it. Peterson failed. You had a 2-0 lead. He blew it. He blew it. Nobody else, he blew it. Raley came and did his job. Then Soto came in, who's been lights out, had a hiccup today. But we're not blaming Gregory Soto. I mean, he's been damn good. But again, all these guys that haven't pitched, Reed Garrett, Stanek, Helsley, that probably would have been in this spot. At least Reed Garrett or Helsley would have been in that 8th inning. You could have used Soto. And this is the situation where when you don't have guys doing well, it's not a conversation of taking out Peterson. It's about, well, if I bring in Haley now, there's not much I can go to until Soto in the 8th and then Diaz in the 9th. So there's your problem right there. This is when we talk about, everyone's like, oh, you should have just went to the bullpen. Well, yeah, but who are you pitching all these? What are you going to use for the rest of these innings? If everybody was doing what they're supposed to do, Soto would have probably piggybacked a little earlier in the game after Raleigh. Instead of pitching the 8th, he might have pitched the 7th. And then you might have used Reed Garrett or Helsley in the 8th. But because those guys haven't been good, guess what happens? You're very limited on who you can use. So you go into the best guys you have. He went to Raley and Soto, who's been their best guys. They pitched in this game. What are you supposed to do? Bullpen guys are volatile. They're never perfect. They're not. So this is the other issue when it comes to starting pitching. David Peterson, as good as he's been, he failed today. That's it. It's okay to say it, guys. You're allowed to criticize a guy who's been good for the majority of the year. Peterson didn't do his job. So it led to Raley coming in the 6th, finish the job, do it in the 7th, and then he had Gregory Soto in the 8th. It was still a line with a 2-2 game for the Mets to win the ball game. They didn't do their job. That's it. And Bayonet, yeah. But you know what? This is what happens when you go on regular rest and you need to push these guys and they don't know what to do. Peterson hasn't pitched on normal rest. He's got extra time as well. But this is the problem. This is why the philosophy absolutely sucks. And by the way, the extra rest is because of Kodai Senga in this rotation. So let's blame Kodai Senga once again. I love blaming Kodai Senga, that fraud of a pitcher. This is a Kodai Senga problem. Because David Peterson, when Kodai Senga wasn't in the rotation last year because of injury, what were the Mets doing every fifth day? They were pitching. Now, they were occasionally giving these guys extra rest when they could, but they were going every fifth day with Severino, with Quintana, with Minaya. And then when Peterson came back, they were doing that. Kodai Senga came back. Oh, we got to go to the six-man rotation. Do we realize that Peterson and Minaya pitch extremely well on regular rest? But no, we gotta take care of Kodai Senga, the fraud pitcher. So now everybody else has to deal with the extra day's rest. And committee, you know what? Peterson's probably not an ace. But you know what? When you got a pitcher staff like this, he probably is. Like, this is the problem. This is the annoying part of a situation where you have to appease Kodai Senga. So he had a pitch on regular rest that he hasn't done for the majority of the season, if at all, this year, after his another long outing for Peterson, because this is 2 times now. And again, this was a better start for Peterson than his last time going 8 innings and coming back out the next time and getting beat up. It was a better outing, but it wasn't good enough. Again, we're allowed to criticize somebody that has been good for us. He didn't do his job. And Peterson would be the first one to tell you he didn't do his job. No pitcher wants to leave it to the next guy. And again, the short rest, and I guarantee you, he didn't throw a lot of fastballs because he felt like he didn't have nothing in the tank. But you got to push through because it's not going to get easier. Not always somebody's going to help you and, carry you away and say, I got this. You got to take care of business. So day 1 of the test of regular rest, David Peterson failed. He failed. He had a 2-0 lead. He blew it. Let's not blame anybody else. The team gave you a 2-0 lead. How many times have I said this? You're allowed to win a 2-0 ball game. Low-scoring games, you're allowed to win. It's not against the rules. I know apparently to Met fans, it is. Because if you don't score more than 5 runs a game, everybody has a heart attack. You're allowed to win a game 2-0. There's nothing in the rule book that says you can't. Yet, we're fixated on the wrong thing. Again. And the offense didn't do enough. I agree with that. They had opportunities. But the offense isn't always going to come through. Have you watched baseball before? Of course we have. We've all seen games where your offense doesn't do their job, but the pitching helps you out. Why is it okay the Mets won a ton of low-scoring games and close games in April and May, and we didn't care about how we won because the pitching was good? But now we can't hold 2-0 leads, but it's everybody else's fault but the guys on the goddamn mound. Make that make sense, please. That is an absolutely crazy situation and opinion of people that act like how can we lose this game? The offense should have done their job. Like David Peterson didn't blow a 2-0 lead. Like Gregory Soto didn't give up 2 runs to make it 4-2. And yet, in 130 games, the Mets have not come back after 8 innings while trailing. So it's a combination of everything. I agree with that. Pitching not has always come through, but we're going on 3 months of a 5-month season of the pitching not coming through. So I don't want to hear that. It's about time the pitching steps up. They haven't been good since the end of May. Like, let's not act like the pitching has been good. I never said the offense only win games. I think there's got to be a balance. But this pitching for 3 months now has been continuing to blow leads. This was a blown lead. You were in the 6th inning, winning 2-0. You had 12 outs to go to win a ball game. Let's not act like the Mets, it was 0-0 here. The Mets gave them a lead. Why is it not okay for the pitching to not hold the lead? We're allowed to win a 2-0 game. Again, it's not against the rules. Why are we acting like it's a problem? Like we're the only team that's not allowed to win 2-0 games. Yet we see it all around baseball. The Mets, no. They need to score 7 runs a game because that's the only thing that's right in Met fans' eyes. You guys are delusional. I'm sorry. But you had a 2-0 lead. We scored 22 runs in the first 2 games. It is okay for the offense to score 2 runs. Oh, by the way, 3 runs. It's okay. It is okay. But we didn't do it. They didn't do their jobs. That's on the pitching today. We scored 22 runs in the first 2 games. The pitching didn't even have to worry in the first 2 games. The pitchers had no problem throwing when you got a 6-run lead. No problems. But now we ask them to come through when it's a 2-0 game. And, oh, well, the pitching's not always going to come through. When have they come through? When have they come through? They constantly have been giving up leads. Again, stop with this nonsense. Stop with this nonsense. Like, it's crazy to me. And, Daniel, great stat. Let me throw that up there. The Mets have the most losses when scoring 4+ runs is crazy. Yeah. So what is the offense supposed to do? They had to score 5 runs today, guys, to win a ball game. And that's okay. I'd like to win that ball game too. But again, you had a 2-0 lead. The Mets eventually got a 3rd run. Like, they didn't do their jobs, the pitching. I'm sorry. They didn't do their job. Right? I'm not overly blaming Gregory Soto, who has been really good, but he didn't do his job either. David Peterson didn't do his job and let the 2 runs score. That's on him. He blew a lead. That's what's the definition of a blown lead is what David Peterson did. They weren't holding. No, they weren't. They weren't holding leads. The offense has been over the last, I would say, month, have been scoring over 5 runs per game. It's been all about the pitching. And again, if you score 3 runs and you're up 3-1 or 3-0, and you only have 12 outs to go, you should be able to hold that lead. There's been too many times over the last 2 months where the pitching has not held leads. Even when the Mets offense wasn't good, they were giving them 1-0 leads, 2-0 leads, 3-1 leads, 3-2 leads, and they couldn't hold it. They've been blowing leads for 2 months now. And we're definitely going to get into it tonight on the Mets Night Show, the first one of the season, at 9 o'clock tonight on this Sunday. So make sure you tune in. And by the way, guys, if you're here right now, it's going to take you right to the stream. If you're on YouTube right now, it's going to take you right to the stream of the Mets Night Show. Hit that like button, and we'll see you later tonight. If you're on X right now watching the stream, please head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that. But it's okay for the pitching to hold leads. They have not been doing that enough. They did it in April and May, and everybody said it's the best pitching in baseball. We all remember that? It was a long time ago. Now, it's all the offense fault because the pitching can't hold leads. Now, we're not allowed to blame the pitching. And again, this goes back to the same thing. People are so concerned about, like, all we were talking about was, oh, Alonso didn't come through in the 9th. And yeah, he didn't come through. But they were 12 outs away with a 2-0 lead to win, to hold the lead. They didn't do it. That is on the pitching today. Ultimately, you scored 25 runs in a 3-game series. You scored 22 of them in the first 2 games. You ain't going to score 9, 10, 11 runs every game. You needed to score at least 5 today to win. The Mets pitching failed today. It's just that simple. So, guys, the Mets lose 4-3, unable to sweep the Braves in Atlanta, as they are now 7 games back, once again, of the division from the Philadelphia Phillies. And we face the Phillies at home for a 3-game set Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got Kodai Senga on the mound tomorrow. David Peterson's final line was 5 2/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, 4 walks. The walks were a problem, and that happened in the 6th. That was his big bugaboo in that inning. And he didn't give up any home runs today. So, 69-61 is their record. I got another show tonight. Chris is going to join me. I'm going to see if I can get 1 or 2 other guys so we can have a full roundtable and have a conversation about this team. And I will see you later tonight at 9 o'clock, about 4 hours away. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Mets postgame show right here on the channel and on X. If you're on YouTube right now, stay on the stream. It's going to take you to the Mets night show tonight. Hit on that like button early, guys. The more likes we get before the stream, the more it's going to get at the top of the list for people who want to see that content, guys. If you're on X, head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the channel, guys. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you later tonight at 9 p.m. for the Mets night show live right here on the channel and on X. Have a good day, guys. Let's go Mets, and I'll see you tonight.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets.